So now that you've gathered suppliers for each of your three main product opportunities, it's time to start contacting them. Remember, right now we're still getting you in the game. You've set up your Seller Central account, you've found a product or multiple products, and now you're contacting suppliers. Once you do this, and once you pick your product and go with it and get your inventory on the way to Amazon, then it's time to apply all the awesome stuff we're going to be teaching you in Module 4 and Module 5 about how to start getting tons of sales for your product. So here we go, contacting suppliers. Supplier contacting tips, what you want to learn when you contact a supplier, how to get set up with a supplier, and action time. So supplier contacting tips. First off, you can use email to contact suppliers, but contacting by phone is best to build a relationship with them. Now, if you're using overseas suppliers, email may be the only option, but for domestic suppliers, contacting by phone is honestly best because you can start building a relationship. It's easier to gather information. It's easier to let them know you're a real person because you took the extra step of picking up the phone rather than just firing off a bunch of mass emails to suppliers. They know you're a more serious person. So yeah, email can be used, but phone is best when available. So you really only need one supplier. You have multiple supplier options, and you can be contacting multiple suppliers, but don't get overwhelmed. You really only need one good supplier. If you find one good supplier, everything seems to be perfect. Just feel free to run with that. I mean, it's really all about getting started because you can always switch suppliers later, assuming they all have the same kind of product. But having multiple supplier options is ideal no matter what phase of this business you're in. So, big thing is to come across as professional. If you haven't done this thing before, it may seem a little awkward and that sort of thing, but you still want to come across as professional. You're a professional entrepreneur. You know what you're doing. You're going through this training course. These are just people on the other end of the phone that are dealing with other people all day long. These suppliers really need your business. You're their customer. Feel free to let them know that you're a professional entrepreneur. You just want to order their products and do business with them. That's it. Even if you've never done this before, make sure you come across as a professional. So, what you want to learn when you contact a supplier. First off, do they have or can they get the product you want? You found a specific product on Amazon, a product opportunity that you want to pursue. You want to find out and make sure, even though you found the supplier because you were looking for suppliers that meet that product opportunity, you want to first call them and find out to make sure that they have the type of product you're looking for. Or if they can get it. If they don't have it and they can't get it, you may ask them if they know anybody else that do. But first off, find out if they can get the product or if they already have it. Then ask, are they able to label your product with your own brand? If it's a company that just makes their own brand and doesn't private label for anybody else, then not really worth your time. So you want to find out and make sure that they're able to put your own label on the product or your own packaging with the product. Then you want to find out, how does the private custom labeling process work with them? It's going to be a little bit different with each brand. You just want to, or with each supplier. So you want to ask them how that process works with them. Also, what are the price tiers for ordering the product? This is a big and a very important question to ask. They may want you to sign up with them first as a supplier before they give you a price sheet, but you still want to find out as soon as possible, what are the price tiers for ordering the products. Meaning, if you're ordering X quantity, what's the price? If you order more than that quantity, what's the price? You sort of want to find those things out as soon as possible because that's going to let you know whether this is a good supplier worth pursuing. And then you don't want to come right out of the gate asking, what's the minimum order quantity? Minimum order quantity means the smallest amount of inventory you can order to to even work with that supplier. You don't want to ask that right out of the gate because then they'll think you're a small player. They'll think, oh, this person's just trying to order the minimum. You don't want them to feel that way because that's not true. You're somebody, yeah, you're just getting started like anybody else. Tell them you're testing them out. That's a good way to put them on their toes, is you're testing them out as a supplier to see if they're good enough for you. You obviously want to be nice and professional, don't necessarily want to say it like that, but that's the sort of presence you want to come across with. So ask them what their price tiers are. Do they have a price sheet? You want to let them know that you're going to plan on ramping this business up very, very fast, ordering more and more of this product, and you want to know what your pricing is going to be. And through all this, you'll discover what the minimum order quantity is. So then also ask them what's the estimated time until the product is ready to ship. Meaning, if you send them your custom labeling or if they do their own custom labeling, how long is it going to be before the product is ready to ship? And then ask them if there's any way to speed that process up. Some suppliers, it may only be a couple days. Some suppliers, it may take a couple weeks for the products to be ready. Any longer than that, you should probably start pursuing other products because it's not like you're doing a custom product here. Custom products can take, up to 8 weeks or even longer. But just putting your label on an existing product that they already have shouldn't take more than a couple weeks max. Ideally, it takes, a week or so, but I tend to really push these suppliers, but a couple weeks max is really all it should take, which is perfectly fine because, as far as following the Amazing Selling Machine training, is because next week you're going to be learning all about how to optimize your Amazon product listing, and you can do all that while you're waiting for inventory, so don't worry too much about that. So yeah, you want to ask them what the estimated time is until the product is ready to ship. And then lastly, you want to ask them how you get set up to start buying products from them. So here's how to get set up with a supplier. First off, ask them the setup process. You'll likely need to fill out some different forms with them. It's pretty standard supplier stuff. And then, they may ask you with a reseller license. Jason and I have never actually had to get a reseller license. You shouldn't need to either. Even if they ask you for one, you can either tell them you just don't have one, or there'll likely just be a form with some more information on it. You just fill out your own information. Obviously, you don't want to fabricate or lie about anything, but fill out the form, send the form back to them, and just leave anything blank that says anything about a reseller license, and you should be fine. I've done this multiple times. It's never been a problem, so don't worry too much about it if they ask you for something like that. So then you're obviously going to want to figure out your payment method. Are you going to pay with credit card, with a debit card, or any other method? Most suppliers are likely not going to take something like PayPal, so credit card or debit card is generally going to be the best way. Possibly a check, possibly a wire transfer. You're kind of going to need to figure that out with the supplier, and you're likely going to have to pay ahead of time. Most likely, suppliers, when you're first getting set up, are not going to take like a net 30 payment. So then you're going to need to figure out the product and packaging design specifications, unless they'll do that for you. Some companies that do private labeling for generic products, they'll do the design for you. So you can basically just tell them what you want on there, and they'll put it on there. But if they don't do that, you're going to want to make sure you get the product and packaging design specifications so you can send those off to a designer, which is covered in another video. So you just want to get the specifications. What file type, what image file type, what size of image, do they have a template? Ideally, you want to get a template and or examples of other design files, other graphic design files for that product. That's what you really want. If they don't have it, just ask them all the other information you'll need to design packaging or labels for the product. Then go ahead and get the design done and send those design files in the format necessary back to the supplier. They'll tell you about what all that is, but you're getting the design done and sending it to the supplier. Then just wait for the supplier to prepare the product. You've ordered the product, you've sent the design files, now you're just waiting for the supplier to actually prepare the product for shipment. And the final step is to send the supplier the FBA shipment items, covered in another video, but basically you're just sending the supplier a packing slip to go inside the box and a shipping label to go on the outside of the box so that they can send your units off to FBA, and so that they're not doing any fulfillment, you're not having to get anybody else to do any fulfillment, and it'll all be very, very easy, and we'll give you instructions on exactly what to tell the supplier for that. So here's action time. Go ahead, start contacting the suppliers in your list. Phone is best, but you can also use email. It'll feel a little awkward the first time. This is perfectly normal. Anytime you do something new, it feels a little awkward because you don't know the right words to say. You don't know the best way to go about things. They may ask you questions you don't know the answer to. No problem. This is all perfectly normal. Don't worry about it. Just go ahead and get started. So write down the information you gather for each supplier. Write down all the information that I told you to ask in this video. You may want to pause this video, go back, make sure you have all that information. Go ahead and write that information down for each supplier so you're able to compare suppliers versus each other and also suppliers so you can gather that information and compare it for different product opportunities so you can really pick the best product opportunity for you to run with in these next modules.